Hi, I'm Val Hart, and today I'm talking with renowned Birmingham dog trainer Margaret Davis. Margaret has pretty much spent her entire life working with dogs and advocating for their welfare. Her father is the famous veterinarian Earl M. Jones. He received the Albert Schweitzer Medal for his contributions in crafting and implementing the Animal Welfare Act of 1966. So you can imagine, Margaret was a real kennel brat. In 1984, Margaret started creative dog training, and she taught obedience classes to 4 clients and their dogs in the middle of the vet's office. And by 1990, she had 3 employees, and by 2000, she had 20. In 2005, she opened Creative Dog Training's second location, and now on any given day, she's got 60 to 70 dogs in daycare at each of the locations. Creative Dog Training offers a wide range and variety of classes and services for dogs and the people who love them. Margaret trained the Golden Retriever in the Brett Favre Wrangler's Jeans commercial. I love that commercial. She's trained and handled the dogs that played Toto in 2 different productions of The Wizard of Oz, as well as the dogs that played Belle in The Miracle Worker and Sandy in Annie. She's also selected and trained Hero, the Chelsea fire dog that rides on the truck and goes into schools with the Chelsea firefighters to help educate children on fire safety. She was instrumental in establishing Birmingham's first off-leash dog park, and she supports the local dog rescue groups, as well as providing free dog training classes for every dog that's adopted. The Creative Dog Training website also provides trainer blogs. She's got 64 different training podcasts and training tips, as well as a message board and a forum in which people can ask the trainers questions. The website is an invaluable educational tool and emblematic Creative Dog Training's commitment to helping dogs by educating people. Welcome, Margaret. Thank you so much for being here. I'm delighted to talk to you about a subject that's near and dear to my own heart, dogs.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Val.
I'm glad you can come. Thanks for making time in your busy schedule. And so I want to ask you a few questions. What do you mean by helping dogs by educating people?
Well, Val, I get people come to me and they want to become dog trainers, and the first question I ask them is, do you want to work with dogs or do you want to work with their people? Because it's one thing to educate the dog, but if we leave the person out, the dog isn't going to change once he goes back home.
That's right, yeah.
It's a two-way street. So it came to my attention that a lot of dog behavior issues are really caused by lack of knowledge on the human's part.
Yeah.
So my goal is the more education that I can get for the people living with the dogs, the better the dog's life is going to be.
That makes so much sense to me. I'm an animal communicator, right? So I do behaviorist work, and I communicate with the dogs in order to help us find out what's really going on from their viewpoint. And almost always they'll tell me that their person confuses them, So I learned early on in my work that in order to help the animal, I have to be able to help the person. So I'm really delighted to hear that you have focus on educating the person, which is a huge part of the equation.
Yeah. It really is.
Yeah.
And I think that's fascinating what you do. Just, I have a slight vision impairment. It doesn't bother me in day-to-day life, but because of that, I've always been, I think, a little more in tune with what animals are thinking and the kind of nonverbal communication they give off.
Right.
And it's enhanced my ability to work with dogs, cats. I don't think I can give cat advice. I don't think anybody really trains cats. But
I think cats train people.
I know mine do.
They do. They're good at it, too.
But it's always helped me just to be able to get in tune with the dog and what the dog is really thinking. And I think people, unfortunately, without thinking about it, do confuse their dog.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. And like you said earlier, through no fault of their own particularly, it's just that they're not dog savvy. They don't understand how what they're doing comes across to their dog. Right?
I call it unintentional dog training.
Unintentional. Accidental dog, or the accidental trainer.
A good example is the dog that shies back towards the person, and the person reaches down and pets it and says, "Oh, it's okay, it's okay."
Right.
And they just don't realize that what they're really saying is, "Good dog."
Yeah, exactly.
I love it when you're shy. Please do more of it.
Right. Please do more so we can give you more rewards. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah. So do you think of dogs as persons?
I like to put dogs in their own category that I choose to call the dog. Now, dogs are not things, and to me it's very dangerous when a person thinks of a dog as a thing, because you can do things to a thing that you couldn't do to a person.
Right.
Like leave it outside all night.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't do that to a person, but because they think of it as a thing, it becomes kind of a throwaway item.
Yeah.
Right? But to me, dogs are not people. It's wrong to kind of set them up as people because the dog they just can't fulfill that role.
Right.
So if they're not a person and they're not a thing, they're a dog. And the more we appreciate that and we learn to speak dog and we learn to communicate with the dog on a level he can understand, the happier that dog is always going to be.
Yes, and if our dogs are happy, we're usually pretty happy too.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Just makes a lot of sense. So let's talk about dogs and having dog friends, doggy daycare, chances to play with dogs, like going to the off-leash parks where they can romp. Why do you think it's so important that they have dog friends?
Well, for one, they need to expend energy.
Oh, okay.
If they have a lot of pent-up energy, it's going to come out in mischievous behavior. It's like a kid at home all day on a rainy day. They're going to find something to do. And the big thing is dogs in particular tend to put children in the category in their mind as if they're other dogs.
Yeah.
And if a dog doesn't understand canine communication skills, doesn't know about rough and tumble play, how to use his mouth properly, when to back off, when to be more exuberant, which is what they learn in a good daycare environment, then they don't deal as well with children.
That's a really good point. Yeah, that's a really good point, just thinking about that. So when they're in a socialization free-for-all with other dogs, they're learning how to be with other dogs, how to communicate with dogs, how and it's okay, it's approved of for them to be rough and tumble and wrestle and chase and play that way.
But we like to see balanced play.
Oh, okay, good.
That dogs appreciate that kind of play. And what I train my staff to do is if you think one dog is being a little bit too rough, just simply restrain that dog and ask the other dog, because the other dog will tell you. If the other dog runs off and plays with somebody else, what he's saying is, yes, thank you for rescuing me.
Yeah.
But if he turns around and re-engages, then to the dogs, they weren't having an issue. But just think about it. If dogs don't get that outlet, then they don't know what too rough is.
Right. They don't get the feedback to know when they've been too rough, or they bit too hard, or they wrestled, too
because
much.
What does the dog do when one gets bitten? It goes, ow!
Yeah.
Hey, you hurt me.
Yeah,
then
ouch.
If the dog doesn't stop, then the dog gets kind of ostracized from the pack. The other dogs just walk away from it. They go, you're not our kind. We're not going to play with you.
We don't like
You're too rough.
Yeah. So that would teach them inhibition, right?
They do learn that.
Yeah, they learn to moderate their own behavior, given the feedback from the pack, right?
Yeah, it's like I try to tell people, don't play with your dog as if you're a dog, because dogs play rough.
Yeah.
And your dog may not know how to come back out of that. It's like the dog triggers into excitement very quickly, but they don't all have that pathway to come back.
Got it.
And to me, that's part of dog training, is teaching them how to come back out of that super excitement stage.
Talk a little more about that, Margaret. How would you do that if your dog's a little too much over the edge there? How do you actually bring him back?
What I do is I start at low level. I start when the dog is somewhat calm, and I play with them and get them just a little bit excited. And then I bring them back down to a normal emotional level.
Oh.
And then I play with them again, bring them up just a little bit, get them a little bit more excited, and then calm them back down. Then you just keep going up in gradual increments until the dog is at a 10, and then he can come back down to a 2. But it's very difficult in the beginning that a dog that's at a 10 is going to come to a 2 on his own. Does that make sense? You have to teach them how to do that.
Oh, okay. So they don't just automatically know how to do that. We have to teach it.
Yes, they have to learn. It's kind of like toddlers in play school, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
They have to learn what's appropriate, what's not.
Got it. Oh, I like that. That's great. Okay, good. Are there any other things that we need to watch out for, like in doggy daycare or off-leash parks, that kind of things? Any other tips you can give us?
We need to be aware of pack behavior.
Okay.
And to me, dogs that play longer than 30 minutes in a stretch tend to develop pack behaviors. It's like they have a burst of energy, they expend the energy, and then they all kind of back up and look at each other and go, just who is the ruler here? Mm-hmm. Who's in charge? And it's right at that 30-minute mark that they're forming that bond. Now, the problem comes in that if you introduce a new dog into that pack, like someone walks into the dog park,
mm-hmm.
then that pack has already been formed. And if you think of the meaning of a pack, it's mutually exclusive of other animals.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. So you've got this pack here, and this new dog walks in, and he's going to it's kind of like the new kid in middle school.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
If you've ever done that, it's not fun.
Yeah.
So this dog walks in not knowing that he's walking into an existing pack.
Mm-hmm.
So like in our daycares, what we do is we split the dogs up at 30 minutes.
Okay.
We put them all back into their kennel runs and let them chill out for a while we bring another group out. So we avoid that extreme pack behavior that way.
Oh, that's really clever.
Yeah, that's my issue with all-day daycare,
mm-hmm.
is it tends to form that very exclusive pack, and it makes it difficult for new dogs to come into that situation.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So that'd be a good question to ask if before you take your dog to a daycare. Do they split them up in 30 minutes and manage them more properly that way?
And what do they do to help shy dogs? What really is an issue is if you have a shy dog, if you just put him in a group with really boisterous dogs,
mm-hmm.
then
mm-hmm.
he's just likely to become more shy. He's just going to go off into a corner by himself.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, there's an art to how to put dogs together
mm-hmm.
so that we're facilitating the dog improving.
Okay.
My big thing is dogs are going to, they have three areas of their life: social, behavioral, and psychological. And if they have issues in any one of those areas, then the people they live with are going to think it's a problem dog.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
And if we use daycare to improve social behavior, the daycare itself has to have a structured plan for making sure that the dogs improve and don't, actually get worse by going to daycare.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, they could actually, couldn't they? They could get worse.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh, that's really interesting. Okay.
So, and one word of advice to people that go to dog parks,
mm-hmm.
be aware that dogs running in packs don't know you exist. So always stand against something.
Okay.
So you're not out in the open when a pack of dogs comes running up to you.
Okay.
And I only say that
tip.
because I had a client that witnessed someone getting their leg broken at our dog park.
Wow.
Because a pack of dogs just ran into them.
Wow. Oh, my God.
And I've got several good podcasts on dog park etiquette, I call it.
Okay. Brilliant.
Things to think about. Like
good things.
where's the closest veterinary clinic? I don't think people think about that, but you may need one,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Wow. Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up. That makes a lot of sense. Oh, man. Are there other tips that you can give us on dog parks real quick? That's a good one.
Well, if you take your dog into a dog park and the dog is already at that 10 we were talking about, the super excited state,
yeah,
and you let the dog go, then you released a missile.
Mm-hmm.
And the dog's behavior is going to be wild, erratic. He's going to run into things, bash into the dogs, and not all dogs appreciate that.
Absolutely not.
So, they prefer to be asked if they want to play.
Mm-hmm.
Not, whoa, excuse me, did I offend you?
Hold on. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right.
So walk your dog calmly into the park.
Okay.
Maybe do a little bit of training with them and release them when their mind is stable.
Okay.
And then everybody has a better time.
Yeah. Okay. Good. That makes great sense. Thank you. In fact, that's good basic rural etiquette for just about anything, isn't it?
I think so. You know, we want to reward the behavior that we want.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Reward the behavior that we actually want to continue.
Yeah, I try to get people to look at that. Everybody wants to tell me what their dog does they don't want, and I stop them and I say, well, okay, tell me what you want.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you want your dog to behave? And let's teach that behavior.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, I love that. That's such a brilliant approach, Margaret. Good. I'm so glad you brought that up, because I've been thinking about that myself. If we only fixate on what we don't want, we're totally focused on what we don't want, we never actually tell them what we do. Right?
Yes.
We don't give them a way out. We don't give them a way to be rewarded. You know, we don't create what we want just because we're so fixated on what we don't. And we haven't even taken the time to think about what we actually did want, right?
And if it's true that we kind of project into reality our own thoughts, if we're always thinking negative things about our dog, then to me the dog is likely to behave negatively.
Yes, that's the message we keep reinforcing for them. Yeah.
So let's think about what we want and work towards that goal and kind of put the other stuff aside.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. So do you think dogs can be spoiled?
I have 5 dogs.
Okay.
4 golden retrievers and a schnauzer.
Okay.
And they are probably the most spoiled dogs on the face of this earth. I am probably one of the few dog trainers you'll ever talk to that when you ask, where does your dog sleep, I say wherever they want to. If they want to sleep on the bed, they sleep on the bed.
Oh, my God, that's great.
You know, my only rule is if I say get off the bed, I expect you to do it. Otherwise, I don't care where they sleep.
Okay.
But my thing is spoil your dog all you want to, but make sure you earn their respect. Because if you spoil them and you don't earn their respect, then they're going to just run all over you.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Get a little respect, and then you can do whatever you want to with them.
I love that. So what are some tips on earning their respect?
Set your rules. Set your boundaries, just like you would with a 2-year-old toddler.
Okay.
This is mine. This is yours. I expect you to wait at the door. You're going to wait when I feed you. That I line all 5 of mine up and release them, based really on who's behaving the best. You're calmest, you get to eat now. I don't let them do free-for-alls. I teach them the settle down exercise where I expect them to lay down at my feet when that's required to do that. And that's such a simple one to teach. Just put your dog on a leash, slide the leash under your foot in such a way that they can't jump up or walk away, and you just say, settle down. Oh, wow. What a great... And they get it. They're like, no. Well, there's nothing else to do, so I guess I'll just settle down. As my son Damien says, the more they fight it, the more they needed it.
Oh, that's great. The more they fight it, the more they needed it. I could see some other applications for that concept, too. We don't need to expect a lot out of our dogs, but they do need to come when they're called. Yeah. Have a concept of staying where they're put. Yeah. Walk nicely on a leash. Don't jump on people unless invited. Yeah. Don't bite. Go to the bathroom outside. Go lay down. Yeah. And anything else is just gravy and tricks. Gravy and fun, and yeah, you're right. So we got all the basics. Life is good, and then if we want to add some cake, we can have that too. Right. Right. I got it. Oh, that's good. I love that. I like your rules. These are good rules. Can we talk about alpha for a moment? That's a kind of a controversial subject, isn't it? Being an alpha pack leader. Do you agree with that? You can put 100 dog trainers in a room and say that word. And watch out. Oh yeah, duck. Yeah. Okay. I like to think in terms of respect instead of alpha. Okay. Okay, because the true top dogs of this world, and you know because you've been around packs of dogs, they're not the troublemakers. They're not the ones that are barking. They're the ones walking through the room with their head held high, without a care in the world, because they know life will be exactly as they say. They don't pick fights. They just are. Right. When I go do house calls, people think that the troublesome dog is the alpha dog, and I'm just like, oh, no, you don't understand. That guy is your middle-ranking dog. He doesn't know his place. Oh,
that dog right there is your true dog. So I like to think in terms of leadership, and I don't like to physically dominate dogs. I don't like to roll them on their back. I don't like to hold their muzzle, because to me that just invites a fight. And I don't want to fight the dog. I want the dog to cooperate. So any correction that I give a dog is going to be based on how dogs correct each other. And I've never seen a dog roll another dog over just to do it. You know, they may do it in a fight, but they don't do it as a regular training exercise. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Keep going.
Yeah, they may prove a point, but it worries me when people do that on a regular basis to their dog. Like, I'll hear people say that someone told them to hold their puppy down till it stops screaming. And I'm like, okay, so you showed you're bigger.
Yeah.
Somebody can hold a gun to your head and you'll do whatever they ask.
Right.
So as soon as the person is gone, you're not going to keep listening. So to me, when I think of the word alpha, I think of force. And I don't think it's necessary to use force in you know, living with or working with a dog. Right.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. To me, alpha also means leadership, respect. You know, you know, the authority. You know, the one that gets to say what we do and when we do it, kind of thing. But it's not force and it's not abusive.
Not abusive.
Become abusive. Yeah.
What I think of abusive with dogs is any kind of correction that physically goes at a dog. From pointing at them to threatening them to popping them. And, you know, you and I would like to wish people didn't do that, but people still do that.
Well, they do. They get, you know, frustrated, annoyed. They don't know what else to do different. You know, they don't have any other tools. And so they resort to, you know, and probably what's been done to them as, you know, as correction, which is yelled
and
at,
what they saw
swatted,
their
or
parents
something,
do
you know?
with their dogs.
Yeah, exactly.
And I just say, look, put a leash on the dog. It extends your arm, and you can use the leash to correct your dog. Just stop him from what he's doing. It makes sense to the dog. It doesn't put the dog in the defense drive. But, you know, getting back to that alpha leadership thing a second, if you don't provide rules, then your household is basic anarchy. You know, it's just bedlam. Nobody knows what to do. So, and I've seen this, and I wonder if you've seen it too. When I get a very permissive dog person that lets everything go, lets it go, at some point that dog is going to do something so outrageous that even that person can't handle it. They'll come down on that dog so hard that they do relationship damage. Whereas if they would have addressed the small stuff, it would have never gotten to that emotional point.
Exactly.
So we say stress the small stuff.
Stress the small stuff?
Yeah, deal with the little stuff with your dog. Because if you deal with the little things they're doing wrong, they don't get to the big things.
Oh, I love that. This is so good. You know, because so much of we humans, we're taught to don't stress the small stuff. Ignore the small stuff.
Don't sweat the small stuff.
Don't sweat the small stuff.
But with dogs, you worry, but you say, I go through that door first. You wait at that door. Every door, every time. And then you don't have a dog running into the middle of the street.
Or running over the toddler, or, you know, knocking Granny down, or any of the other terrible things that dogs wind up getting in trouble for. And you're right. It's because we let them get away with so much, and we weren't clear about the boundaries of the rules, and we weren't consistent, and we didn't really honor or respect our space, you know, or stuff or anything. And then all of a sudden we blow up, and they're going, "What's wrong with you? What happened? You know, what happened to you?" So this is so good. I love it.
I think in terms of, I raise a puppy the same way I raise my children. I thought ahead of when they would be 16 and they'd get off-leash freedom. You remember that day you got your off-leash freedom? Your driver's license? Remember that you're driving down the road and you're like, whoa, there's no one in the car with me.
I can do anything I want.
I can go to the store, or I can go by Julie's house first.
I can do wheelies and donuts in the parking lot. I remember that.
All right, now think about this. You probably had two sets of friends. You had the ones who had respect for their parents, and the ones that didn't. Now, the ones that didn't have respect for their parents or authority, they did anything they wanted, right? They broke all the rules.
Yep.
They just did whatever.
Yep.
Right? But the ones that had respect for their parents and authority, they bent the rules a little sometimes, but by and large, they behaved as if their parents were there.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. Now, if you take a leash off a dog and you give it off-leash freedom before you have built in respect, what crowd are they running with?
Yeah, the bad crowd.
Yeah, the wild kid. Yeah. And when I put it in terms like that, to clients, they get it. They're like, oh, what do I do if my teenager misbehaves? I ground him. Okay, so why are you letting your dog do the same bad behavior over and over, practicing being bad, and you don't ground him? So how do you ground the dog? You put him on his leash.
Okay. Put him on his leash. What do you do after you put him on his leash? Just to be really clear for people.
Well, what I do is I then put my foot on the leash and ask him to settle down.
Okay, so the next thing is settle down.
Is settle down. And then, see, what the leash does, it also evens the odds, because let's face it, we're bigger, stronger, and smarter, but our dogs are faster.
Yeah, a lot faster, yeah.
It's infinitely easier to catch a dog that's trailing a leash than a dog that's not.
Yes, exactly so. Yeah.
So, and just to be clear, not a retractable leash.
Okay.
Because a retractable leash would be going thump, thump, thump. Just a straight, flat leash.
Okay. That's a good point. Yeah. Okay. So after they've calmed and settled down, what do you do then?
I just put my foot back off the leash and say, it's okay. Going back to business. Okay. But I'm going to let them drag that leash as long as I'm watching them, because that's always where I am in my line of visual sight. Okay. And that way, if they misbehave, I don't have to dive at the dog. You ever seen people do that? The dog's fixing to do something wrong, so they go, ah, and the dog says, ooh, I know what that means. I'm out of here.
Yeah, go faster.
So with leash dragging, you can just nonchalantly approach the dog. Step on the leash, you have them, get them back under control.
Okay.
You see, if you ask a dog in the heat, if it's doing something wrong and you tell him, leave it, stop it, don't do it, and the dog treats you like a buzzing fly, you don't have a discipline problem. You have a respect problem. And there's only one way to cure that, and that's with some basic training, with some basic household rules. And with the other two key ingredients is, first, you got to have a good bond. I choose to call it love.
Yes.
But if you don't have one, you're not going to get it.
Right, exactly.
And I think, the hardest dog to train is a yard dog.
Yeah.
The dog that doesn't live with his people.
Yeah,
because you're starting out.
Yeah,
with a disconnect. The dog is in charge of his environment way too much. Right,
and the person goes out and just throws food and water and whatnot, and and then leaves, and they're
and the dog dumps all over them.
Right,
you think about the poor dog is desperate for attention, so it's just trying to get attention. The person just comes back inside because it's annoying, and the dog is left just, oh my gosh, what do I do now? I can't get this person's attention. Yeah. So I would rather deal with a dog that's underfoot all day. Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. So, and then I like that. This is good. Our third element is trust. Trust. You have to trust your dog, and more importantly, your dog has to trust you. Yeah. And dogs don't understand some of the things we do. Like, Val, have you ever seen a dog walk up to another dog and hit it?
Well, I have to say, I do see dogs walk up to others, and they're posturing and, and not real sure of each other. So I don't know if I've ever seen them walk up and just slap them down.
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to them. They don't use their paws that way. But we're human, so we tend to use our hands more. Right. So we tend to go straight into that mode of grabbing for the dog. Or popping the dog, just whatever, something with the hand. Right. And it confuses the dog because they don't operate that way. Right. They're looking at us like, wow, they're going to move away from you, or they'll turn around and try to bite you. Like the call I got, my dog's biting me. Well, what was going on? Well, I was spanking him. Well, first we've got to change what we're doing here. Yeah, what's wrong with this picture? They don't know. So, that's what I mean by discipline a dog like a dog disciplines. Well, how does a dog discipline? They do an inhibited bite on the neck. So they go, Pah. Right. There's not a mark. There's not a wet spot, but the other dog knows.
Yeah.
that it crossed the line.
Yeah.
So that's what I do with a leash, is I just pick up the leash, give a little tug. I like to say it's the same pressure as if you've ever caught a fish. It's like setting the hook.
Oh.
It's just a slight wrist. It's just like so it's not a hard tug. It's just a little tug.
Okay.
Just enough to get their attention to say, hey, I don't like what you're doing.
Okay. Okay.
But it doesn't upset the dog. They get it. It's fair to them.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So,
That's really
I
good.
understand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you have any other tips like that? Is that anything else for correction that we can offer people?
Well, I like to only use the word no in dangerous situations.
Oh, okay.
I think that dogs hear the word no way too often and it loses its meaning.
Okay.
Okay, so we like to stress no alternatives, like settle down, off, leave it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then the only time a dog will hear no from me is if he's doing something that's dangerous to himself, which would be chewing the electrical cord or running into the street.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Dangerous to other animals, like trying to maul the cat.
Mm-hmm.
Or dangerous to us, which is active aggressive biting.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, and then the only consequence that goes with no is the leash correction.
Okay.
And they get it. They're like, oh, okay, no means no. Okay. And you say it matter-of-factly. I tell people no is a command.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a punishment. It's not said with emotion. It's not, no!
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
It's low and serious, just like a dog. No.
Okay.
And it makes a huge difference to them. And because I say it so little, if I say the word no, every dog in hearing goes, uh-oh, somebody did something.
Oh. Uh-oh, I hope that wasn't directed at me. Not me, not me. Oh,
in general, I think we talk too much to our dogs. We verbalize a lot without attaching meaning to the words.
Okay.
So, and it's one thing if you're just sitting, petting your dog, they're sitting in your lap, or you're laying on the floor with them and you're talking to them.
Mm-hmm.
But just as a general rule, people just come out with a string of words, or they'll just keep saying the dog's name. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
You know, like,
blah, 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 ginger, blah, blah, ginger, ginger, blah, 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 blah. Right?
I was watching somebody chase their dog the other day. And I said, okay, stop. It was my neighbor. The dog had gotten loose, and I was like, okay, stop running and tell him to sit.
Uh-huh.
And they stopped, and they looked at him, and they said, sit. And it broke his attention just enough that he looked at him, and he sat. Because it was a directive. And they were able to walk up to him and pick him up.
Nonsense. Yeah. I like that.
That goes along with that. Tell them what you want.
Tell them what you want. That's right. And if you're chasing them, by the way, that's a great game. Yeah.
And any chase games always involve the dog chasing you. Don't ever play games where you chase your dog.
Oh, that's a good tip, too. So
they only learn to run from you. They learn it's fun.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it can be. It can be quite amusing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you get this close and they take off again. Yeah.
It's very fun for the dog.
One of the best games in the world to counter a dog that doesn't want to come when he's called is hide and seek.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
That is hide and call your dog. They can't stand it. They're going to come find you.
They have to find you.
They're going to find you. And then finding you becomes its best reward.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I love that. That's great, too.
But I like to use games in training. I've got a podcast called 10 Good Games to Play with Your Dog.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, tell me.
And it even includes tug of war. Tug of war gets a bad rap.
Yeah, yes, it does.
Now, don't play tug of war with your dog. Well, okay, I say play it, but learn the rules.
Exactly. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, just play by the rules, and they can find the rules in the podcast.
That's great. What are the other games? Just do you remember?
Hide and seek, whistle recall.
Oh, okay.
And fetch. But a lot of people go about fetch by taking a tennis ball and throwing it 30 feet.
Uh-huh.
And the dog looks at him and says, "You threw it, go get it."
Yeah, exactly. You must have wanted it there, right?
Face the dog into a corner and just toss it a foot in front of him into the corner, so he's got to come back your way.
Oh, okay.
And that way you're building the pattern of this is what I want. This is what I want.
Ah, okay. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I love the games. To me, games We should. Almost everything is a game. Yeah, if we make it a game, it can all be fun. And dogs they love games, so they can learn a lot of really good things by playing games. You know.
Well, it's like I like to teach children tricks to do with their dog.
Yeah.
Because a child is not typically going to go practice sit, stand down, come, stay, heel.
Mm-hmm.
But if I say, okay, your job this week is to teach them to sit and shake, roll over, and play dead, they'll do that for hours.
You bet they will.
Okay, but what are they doing? They're teaching them to sit when they get them to shake. They're teaching them to lie down when they get them to roll over, and they're teaching them submission that's cooperative when they teach them to play dead. So the dog is learning to relax for the child, and the child just thinks, hey, it's a game.
Oh, I like that. That's sneaky. You're good.
You've just enjoyed part 1 of Creative Dog Training on the Real Dr. Doolittle Show. Stay tuned for part 2.